Once again, ladies and gentlemen, if you could find your seats, we'll begin our Missouri Valley Conference Coach of the Year Luncheon.
Jackie.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention, if you could find your seats, we'll begin our 2016 Missouri Valley Conference Coach of the Year Luncheon. It is a pleasure to welcome you to this great event, which has turned into one of the great postseason tournaments in all of college basketball. However, this year, I think, is maybe the best of the best because we have in this room a group of seniors who have set their own mark, but in many ways have done things that have never been done at the same time. But to have the senior class that we have in this room at a single moment has never happened in the history of this league. Now, to give you a word picture and show you the way that we started our ESPNU broadcast of our Sunday game that we had when Wichita State visited Evansville, and the Ford Center was hot. It was full. Wasn't a seat in the house that wasn't taken. But we wanted to start that broadcast in the right way. And we want to start this banquet in the right way because, again, you compete against each other all year long. But this is the one time out of the year everybody can exhale and appreciate greatness. But this year, more than ever, the accomplishments of this senior class have never been done at the same time in the same place in the history of this league, which dates all the way back to the start of the 20th century. So here's the way we started the game. To give everybody a proper perspective across the country on a national telecast, we said, let's take a visit to a national park.
In 1941, the national monument, Mount Rushmore, was finished, carved into a granite mountainside in the Black Hills of South Dakota, memorializing some of the greatest leaders in American history. Today, the Valley recognizes some of its legends with its own Mount Rushmore. Larry Bird of Indiana State, Hersey Hawkins of Bradley, Oscar Robertson of Cincinnati, and the X-Man, Xavier McDaniel of Wichita State, some of the greatest ever play in college basketball. Today we honor the newcomers to the Valley's Mount Rushmore, four of the best in the nation, DJ Ballantyne and Egidius Miscavige of Evansville, and Fred Van Vliet and Ron Baker of Wichita State, as they continue their assault on the records of the Valley and college hoops.
Let me put this in perspective. Ron Baker, 1,500 points, 500 rebounds, 150 steals, 300 assists, 75 blocks, 200 threes, and over 100 wins. Not sure that's ever been done in the history of college basketball. DJ Ballantyne, Evansville, will finish his career fourth in Valley history in scoring. Who's ahead of him? Larry Bird, Hersey Hawkins, and Oscar Robertson. Those three combined for 40 years in the National Basketball Association. Egidius Miscavige, leading the nation in rebounding. His rebounding total is the best since the X-Man at Wichita State 30 years ago. And in the last 25 years, there are only two players that can even put up numbers close to Egidius. And that is Blake Griffin, now of the Los Angeles Clippers. I still think he's with the Clippers, and formerly of Oklahoma, and Tim Duncan of the Spurs, who was with Wake Forest. And then there's Fred Van Vliet, only one of 5 active players, 600 assists, 200 steals, and he enters this tournament with 117 career wins. If confetti falls on his head Sunday afternoon, he will tie his old teammate's record to Cale Cotton of the all-time Valley win total of 120 wins. And of course, we know he's going to expand on that after Arch Madness. Do not let this moment pass, because in this room are some of the greatest seniors in the history of college basketball. Give them a hand. But this league is more than just 4 players. This league has developed into one of the nation's best because of tradition, this tournament, and a great history. It's like a pipe fitter putting together the past to the present and a conduit to the future. Jack R. Watkins and Derek Dockett of the Valley office, with some help from Brian Holder. To give you an idea of what this league is all about, take a look with a little help from Aerosmith, because this is a league that not only plays on, it's a league where you can dream on. impact of that for your program?
Yeah, that was great. If I could, we've got a new athletic director. David Harris is sitting right there. Maybe a round of applause for our new athletic director, just hired. Yeah, those were, obviously important games for us. Big games for us. The North Carolina game being at home, and I got asked, quite a bit after that game about the Sweet 16 game, the one to get there against Kansas, and which one was better. And really, they were just different. To be able to be at home with your home crowd, what our fans and what our community have done for us is our program has grown, and to be there with North Carolina and have a full house. It just meant so much to our fans to be in the building that day, and so obviously both those games big for our program. The funnest of the two, I would tell you, is the North Carolina one because our guys were able to celebrate it in front of their home fans. So, it was a great way for us to start.
Barry, similarly, and watching those videos gives me chills, but getting pride back to Southern Illinois University basketball and to have a 10-win improvement, you get 2 more, it'll be the all-time school record. But what about bringing pride back to your campus?
Well, I think the most important thing for us this year was to establish how we turn the corner. And our fans deserve it. It's a tradition-rich program. And I think the stats, the 22 wins and the 11 conference wins, all that's great. But you know what? Saluki Nation finished 4th in attendance this year. I think that speaks volumes for our fans and their contribution. They love basketball in Southern Illinois.
Awesome. And while you're on that, I know there's some Bradley folks here that have gone through a rough season, but they finished 2nd in the league in attendance. And I think 5-26. You just don't see that very often. That's what this league is all about. Ben, let's be honest. It was not a fun January. After that great run in November, December, it got a little rugged. But now you come in here hot, winning 9 of your last 10 games. Difference. What happened from the end of January to now?
Yeah, there's no question. We were spinning our tires pretty good. We've got 4 sophomores in our top 8, and those guys had played some games and gained some experience and started to play better. In particular, Clint Carlson and Wyatt Lohaus. And as those guys started to play better, it took a little bit of the heat off of the 4 older guys that are playing for us, and that really made a big difference. When you've got 7 guys playing well as opposed to 3 or 4, those are 3 or 4 anyway. Just felt a lot better going into game day, and so our confidence grew, our practices got better, and then I would tell you we've got great leadership, and for Matt Bohannon, Paul Jesperson, Wes Washburn, guys that were a part of what we did last year, and the expectations that we had coming into this year, and now you're sitting there at 2-6 in the league. You need guys that believe in what you're doing, and you need great leadership from those older guys if you're going to have any chance to get out of it, and we've got that with our 3 seniors and with Jeremy Morgan, and I would tell you that's the biggest reason we came out of it, Mitch.
It's been impressive. Barry, you too, your team, the impressive thing to me about your team was the acceptance of roles and how everybody got better on your team seemingly. What about your pieces fitting together?
Well, I think the biggest thing for us is that the previous 3 years, Anthony's felt like he's had to carry the brunt of the weight of the game. And now with the addition of the other gentlemen that we've added to the squad, it's taken a lot of pressure off. We've been able to move him to his natural position, and consequently he's played better. And it's been a really great year to be around these guys because we really went after them early on, Mitch, because we had a mass exodus last year. I thought Moses was coming back to Little Egypt there, but we finally got guys that bought in, and as Coach Self would say, we had both feet in the circle, and I think that's made a huge impact on our program.
Moses left Egypt to get to the Promised Land. You live in the Promised Land, in Little Egypt. I want to ask you about, and you guys are both so team-oriented, but I'm going to ask you about Wes Washburn. If you haven't seen him play, you saw his dunk, which is one of the best in the country this year. But how he can affect a game, how many different ways can he affect a game, whether he's holding the ball or not?
Yeah, he's obviously had a great 3 years for us. He's about as ornery as they come, and it's worked both ways for us. But what I would tell you is he has changed a lot. That stubbornness now works in our favor 99% of the time, and 3 years ago it worked against us maybe half the time, right? So he's really grown and he's really changed. Now on the floor, defensively we've put him on Anthony Bean, we put him on DJ, we put him on those guys. He guards Fred when we play Wichita. I mean, he's going to guard their best scorer, and we haven't always done that. What he's done, and he's liked that challenge. And he knows tomorrow it's going to be as big a challenge as he's had, but that really, that makes him go. And our guys, we don't have a lot of guys on our team that are jumping up and down and high-fiving. He's the one guy that brings that kind of emotion to our team, which has had it's had a real impact on us.
And you talked about Anthony, but I want to ask you about Anthony. Staying there, being loyal, making everybody else better. And we'll talk about DJ here in a little bit, but he'll find other guys' shots too. What about Anthony's ability to impact a game, whether he has the ball or not?
Well, that's the first thing is to impact the game. Thank God his mother was athletic, because his dad wasn't as athletic, and I say that in all jest. But here's a young man that's been raised in a basketball family all of his life, and when you talk about committed, here's a guy that we have to chase out of the gym. I'm not going to have a lot of janitorial calls at 11 o'clock at night. Coach, Anthony has to leave the gym. We cannot leave the gym open after 11. Consequently, that's why he's so good. He's a hard worker, and the loyalty part has been really big for us. And I think, in all honesty, when you look at the success that we've had this year, it's been just because of his stubbornness that he refuses for us to get beat.
We have a lot of new people in the room, new administrators. We got new fans, new sponsors. Please understand, this league is one of the best in the country because of two guys like this: Ben Jacobson of Northern Iowa and Barry Hinson of Southern Illinois. Thanks, guys. Boy, we got a great 3-6 game. Two teams that have had success in this tournament. They've had success in recent years beyond league action and success in postseason play beyond Arch Madness. Welcome the number 3 seed, the head coach of the Illinois State Redbirds, Dan Muller. And for the 6th seed, from the Indiana State Sycamores, Greg Lansing. Dan, I want to ask you first about your squad. What's interesting is, other than Wichita State, you're the only team in the league that was able to beat all 9 other teams. It's not happened at ISU since you played all the way back in the mid-90s. What about your team, how it's emerged and beating all other 9 teams in the league?
Well, the first thing I would say is I still don't like Jason Daisy from Northern Iowa, because they are the only team we didn't beat back in 97, 98. We've got a good team with, we only play 8, but we've got great depth. And so that kind of sounds a little contradictory, but it's not, because all 8 guys we trust. They can all play big minutes. We have multiple guys who can play multiple positions, and so some guys hot, sometimes the guys not, but different guys step up different nights. And we had some close wins. We're fortunate to beat every team, but I think it comes down to our team really, really liking each other and guys playing together.
It's been impressive, and we're going to get to your athleticism, your defense, and how you've improved in one big area. But got to ask you, Greg, let me say something about Greg. Okay, we had his game against, it was Evansville against Indiana State on one of our Sunday ESPN national telecasts, and we were doing a Hoosiers thing, right? It's a big Hoosier State rivalry. Greg agreed to run the Hoosiers play of the picket fence put together by Shooter Flatch, right, in the movie. He starts the game with the picket fence, and the Sycamores hit a 3. I about came unglued. Adams really came unglued, but he's like the dog on Christmas Vacation with the Mississippi Leghound. You just let him do his thing, and then. But I got to ask you, that was so cool to do that. But you guys shot it great that day. But what about your appreciation of this league and the history?
Well, for one, I want to introduce our new athletic director as well, Sherrod Clinkscales. Welcome, with all our administration. Where were you guys all our other games? Giving me a play to start out or something at halftime. But yeah, this is, I was in the Big Ten for 7 years. The way this tournament is run, the way that it's coached in this league, all the atmospheres that you go across the league. It's an honor to be in it, I know that. And you go down the schedule, and it's just a grind. It's an unbelievable grind, and we went through a little bad stretch this year, and teams do that.
But when you guys shoot it now, you can flat get it going. What about your 2 guards?
Well, 2 seniors there. Well, I talk about Brenton and Devontae, two second-teamers. But Devontae and Brenton, the way they started the year, they were in the hunt with some of the best guards in the league. And Devontae's done a lot of good things for us. He's always defended the best player. He's had to play out of position basically for a couple of years with us. And then Brenton's just a bona fide scorer. And we were making shots early, and that's what happened in our little stretch there, that we weren't making as many shots. And the second time you go through the league, the other team gets to see you and changes. It's such a well-coached league. It was tough for us.
And again, you need to know Dan was one of the great players in this league when he played at Illinois State, now back at your alma mater. But one thing I want to ask you about was your defense. So you talk about your guys playing together, but how improved were you defensively in this stretch? And when you went zone, your athleticism, you were hard to play against.
Yeah, our defense has been very good when we've won. Now, if you look at the games we've lost, and that's what's let us down. We give up over 50% at Northern Iowa, over 50% some other games. So it's a constant thing we stress, obviously. We had a tough non-conference schedule, and so we had some ups and downs, but we learned a lot. We were pressing a lot early in the year. We were switching some things. Towards Christmas, I just decided to become more solid. Guard your guy, traditional defense, be in your gaps, press a little bit but not as much, and that's when we got better. So I think I made a mistake early. We've got teams that are so talented in this league, so many guards that could score, bigs that could score. I do think our ability for multiple guys to guard multiple offensive players, whether it's switching some ball screens here and there, being able to put Tony Wills, Devon, Justin, Paris on some different scores helps us on game night. But it still comes down to mindset. Do you want to do it, or do you not want to do it? And it's tough. And our guys made the decision over the conference season to commit to defense.
One of the stats that jumps off the page about you guys coming into the tournament is you led the Valley in three-point shooting percentage in conference games alone. Now, your November and December, you weren't very good from three. What was the difference in your perimeter game?
Well, I was wrong. I started the last 2 years asking our team at the beginning of the year, guys, are we going to lead this league in three-point shooting? And players, they all think they know everything. They say, yeah. I said, no, we're not. No, we're not. So know who we are. We got to drive the ball. We got to get the ball to the paint. We spent a lot of time shooting the ball over Christmas. We developed some guys that weren't very good shooters, and they continued to improve with extra shots. But the biggest thing is we started playing together. We started getting each other open shots, step-in threes, shots that we can make. And when we started playing within ourselves, our percentages went up. Our scoring got a lot more efficient. But it all starts with hopefully getting two guys to guard one for us, whether it's penetration, ball screens, or throwing inside, and getting wide open shots.
Greg, you guys, I'm going to ask you about your inside game and when it's effective, the Murphquake. You got one of the best small rebounding guards in the country in Clemens, who gets 6 a game. He's maybe 6 foot tall. When you guys are playing good, what about being good at the rim on both ends, offense and defense?
Well, you have to. You have to threaten the rim, and we always talk about whether it be with your penetration or your post-feed passes or even your cuts. And you can't just be floating around the perimeter, around the three-point line. And even though Murph is a young sophomore and Amandre, we're playing young there in the interior, they've done a pretty good job for us. Now the year gets long, it gets to be a grind, and sometimes young guys go through a tough stretch, but it's on us to throw it in there, let them make plays. It's an accumulating effect. Somebody as big as Murph, and you can get other guys in foul trouble and be able to attack them in different ways. So attack from the inside out is something we just have to do a good job of.
Need to say this before I let these guys go. Greg is going into the Iowa Basketball Hall of Fame. His father's already in it. It's only one of 10 father-son duos in the great history of the state of Iowa. So very soon he's going to be inducted in Des Moines. So I think that deserves a special hand. Our 6th seed, Indiana State, Greg Lansing, and our 3 seed, Dan Muller of Illinois State. Thanks, man. And now our 1 and 2 seeds. And with a 10-team tournament, we start tonight with, I think it'll be 2 fabulous games. And they await their quarterfinal opponent, and they have to scout tonight to see who they're going to play. But our number 1 seed was the Valley regular season champion for the 3rd consecutive year. That has only happened one other time in 46 years in the history of this league. And we already know how good this league is. So to win it once is tough. To win it 3 years in a row is darn near impossible. But it's not that way when you're the nation's best team winning percentage since 2011. From the Wichita State Shockers, our 1 seed, Greg Marshall. We talk about bringing pride back to the campuses. We saw that happen actually over the last several years. And we need to stop and celebrate two national champions. We've never had two defending national champions be in the room at the same time. Last year, Loyola University of Chicago won the CBI National Championship. And our next coach, representing our 2 seed, took Evansville and won a national championship in the CIT tournament. 23 wins, the best since 1999. 2 seed, head coach of Evansville, Marty Simmons. And Greg, I'll start with you. And I can't overlook the fact you have got 2 of the most amazing seniors in Fred and Ron that have ever played in college basketball together. The numbers are all there, but to coach these guys, what has the experience been like?
Well, it's been a godsend for me, for our community, for our university, for the state of Kansas basketball. I mean, they're the true professional college basketball players, and what I mean by that is they come to work every single day to improve individually and to improve the team. They're easy to coach. They want nothing but winning. There's no envy or animosity or jealousy amongst them, and they lead by example. And they make the rest of the team fall in line because they want to win as much as anyone and just do a great job of making my job really easy.
Amazing too. You have an amazing too because the other 2 faces on Mount Rushmore were Marty's guys. For Egidius Miscavicius and for DJ Ballantyne, for you to coach those guys, what's it been like?
Well, I would echo a lot of what Greg just said. It's been a real privilege. They've been very good from the minute they stepped on our campus, and not just as basketball players, but as student athletes and ambassadors out in the community. I'd say those 2 get as much attention at the local malls and restaurants as anybody, and they do a terrific job. They both have high character, a lot of charisma. They have the unique ability to make people around them feel really good about themselves. And then on the floor, I mean, DJ, he's been pretty darn consistent over the last 3 years at scoring the basketball. You pretty much put 20 down each and every night. Terrific young man. And Egidius, what he's been able to do as far as growing and maturing over the last 4 years and, leading the nation in anything, I think is pretty spectacular. And to do it in an area like rebounding where there's tons of effort, you tip your cap. And not only that is he graduated with a sports management degree last year, probably could have played for a little bit of money in some different spots, but chose to come back and get a second degree in finance this year, which I think tells the type of individual he is.
He's been a one-of-a-kind player in this league. Greg, the one thing that jumps off the page about your guys is the unselfishness. We've seen your different bigs step up at times. Your guys have improved, but the minutes you play them, when you sub them, to do what you do on offense and defense, how unselfish is your team?
Well, they're very unselfish, and that's the way we go about our daily business. We don't talk about stats; we talk about wins. And I want to mention those other 3 seniors because Evan Wessel, he's a guy that starts, probably shoots the ball 3 or 4 times a game, but goes and gets 3 or 4 extra possessions. Is a tremendous defender, a tough guy. And then the other 2 seniors come off the bench. You're talking about unselfish. Anton Grady, who's part of the all-bench team and has really been playing well of late. He transferred in as a graduate transfer with the thought that I want to play deep in the NCAA tournament. That not just go, but I want to get and make a run. And he chose us over some other pretty good programs, so we feel fortunate about that. And then Tom Bush-Wamakota barely plays, but is there when we need him. Last year against Kansas, last year guarding Seth Tuttle in the regular season finale. So that's just a token of how they go about their business and how unselfish they are. I mean, I've got these 5 seniors, and I really don't know what Marty's going to do next year.
To win on a big stage, and I'm going to ask you guys about this, and I was there in Omaha to see you dismantle Kansas in the second half last year, and folks, it wasn't close. But Marty, your run last year to win the CIT, how much did that bounce you in? How much does that help you in this tournament? Because let's be honest, how important is it for you to have a good Arch Madness?
That's too many questions for me to remember, Mitch. I think it was really important. I think we're going to spin it that way, that's for sure. I mean, our league is as good as any league in the country. I mean, from top to bottom. So the parity and just how well you have to play to be successful is pretty hard. But the tournament format of knowing that when you lose, you're done. You know, that pressure, whatever the word is to use there, I think that helps us that we were able to achieve some success and to move on. This is a different animal here with the teams that we play in our league. And so we'll just have to wait and see. But, you know, any success we have, you know, is really going to help our program. I mean, these guys have been in our program for 4 years. They've done a terrific job. So we'll just take it, you know, one day at a time, one step at a time.
Final question for you, Greg. And playing, your guys seem to handle pressure great. The NIT National Championship, last year's run and beating Kansas and Indiana before the Final Four, 35 straight wins. Being able to play in a pressure situation like Arch Madness presents and being successful, the key.
I just think it's the old adage, the difference between pressure and stress is your level of preparedness. And our guys are prepared. I mean, they work extremely hard in practice every day. They work very hard in their individual time over the summer and the spring. They get up extra shots between classes at night. You have to kick them out of the gym. We were a little late leaving today because I couldn't get Baker to stop shooting this morning before we left, and we left at 7:15. So, you know, they're just prepared for those moments because of the time that they put in, and they, you know, honestly say they may have worked as hard as me, but nobody's going to outwork me. And it's really great that they have that mindset. And I'll go back to piggyback on your last question. You know, the springboard for us in the NCAA tournament the last 3 or 4 years was the 2011 NIT championship. Just like you, I think, Marty, it was a springboard for us and really helped us get to the point we are today.
Two great seeds right here, two great coaches. Are in 1 seed, Wichita State, our regular season champion, Greg Marshall, and Marty Simmons of the 2 seed, the Evansville Purple Aces. We have another coach that's with us today, too, who will be playing tonight in one of our first-round games, but he was one of the greatest players in Valley history, part of a great run in Arch Madness and a great run in the regular season, and now coaching the Missouri State Bears. We have a former Missouri State coach in Southern Illinois. We've got a former Southern Illinois player coaching Missouri State. It's very confusing. But Paul Lust deserves a round of applause there. Tell you what else is confusing. I was kidding about Mark Adams being the Mississippi Leghound dog. He does such a great job of preparation and representing this league nationally. We have some of our other crew here. Rich Zavosik is here. Also Tom Ackerman. I don't know if Danon Hughes is here. Adam Emenecker, my partner for this weekend. Kevin Lehman is here. I don't want to leave anybody out. John Rooney, Scotty Wardog Warman. This is a league, though, you've got to be ready now, okay? Because you've got to deal with Egidius Miscavicius and Vucetic. And then in help side defense for Drake, when you've got Ariara Gondade, and he's getting help from behind from, Dominic Vucetic or whatever. Anyway, it's tough. And so it makes you appreciate guys like Adam Wing. So anyway, our broadcast crew that are in attendance, some of our broadcast guys and gals that are here today, please give them a hand for what they do to represent the league. This tournament started in St. Louis in 1991. Doesn't seem possible, the 26th edition of Arch Madness, and incredibly, the 22nd year at Scott Trade Center. The great teams of the past and present have done so much to help build this tournament in one of the best, if not the best, postseason tournament in all of America. The tournament here in St. Louis is second only to the Big East in their run at Madison Square Garden in New York for the longest tenure by a college tournament at a single neutral site. With that said, it would not be done without the folks that are here at the head table that I want to introduce to you now, at least those that will not be contributing here very soon. But they put together the sponsorships of this league. It's their commitment with the sponsoring the league, the tournament, the video initiatives. Over 400 live events have been broadcast during the past academic year. To my far right, in its 9th year as the presenting sponsor of this luncheon, is the St. Louis Convention and Visitors Commission. And with us today is Kitty Ratcliffe, president of the St. Louis CVC. In its 9th year as a presenting sponsor of this luncheon is Scott Trade Center, home of Arch Madness. With us today is Alex Rodrigo, Group Vice President, Sports and Entertainment Operations for Scott Trade Center and for the St. Louis Blues. Alex? It's been a big off-season coming into this year. In 2015 in July, a historic 10-year agreement was made with ESPN that featured the creation of the conference's co-branded digital network, The Valley on ESPN3. With us today is the architect of that agreement, Brent Colborn, Director of Programming and Acquisitions at ESPN. And a familiar name and an old friend, both as a corporate partner and in personal relationships, is back with us as title sponsor of Arch Madness. The worldwide impact of this company is felt every minute of every day. The Bloomington, Illinois-based State Farm Insurance continues its commitment to Valley Athletics. With us today, John Altoff, Sponsorship Coordinator at State Farm. In his 24th year as a member of the conference office staff, please welcome the Arch Madness Tournament Manager and Associate Commissioner, Jack R. Watkins. This great city has been the perfect site for this tournament during its neutral site time, and it's also a great home of Fox Sports Midwest, the presenting sponsor for Arch Madness. Please welcome Marketing Director at Fox Sports Midwest, David Picorni. In his 3rd season as General Manager of Valley Sports Properties, a division of Learfield Sports, please recognize Jim McIver. Aetna Company is in its 4th year as the presenting sponsor of the Valley Television Network. With us today is Frank D'Antonio, the Market President at Aetna. Frank? CBS Sports has been the home of the finals of 10 straight Arch Madness championship games. And this year's CBS Sports Network will televise the semifinals for the first time. With us today is Dan Weinberg, Executive Vice President for Programming at CBS Sports Network and CBS Sports. And Eagle Bank and Trust Company is in its 1st year as the title sponsor of the Scholar Athlete of the Year Award. With us today in the 2nd row is Mike Walsh, President and CEO for Eagle Bank and Trust Company. The Valley staff works all year long, 12 months out of the year, and again, we've got a lot of new people in the room, new administrators, new fans, new faculty reps, and so forth. But you have to understand the Wikipedia definition of multitasking is the relatively small but powerful and hardworking Valley staff. The leader of that group is in his 28th year as commissioner of this league. You have to understand his national impact. People call him, they ask him. He's been on committees, and he has had a tremendous impact, specifically in the area of college basketball. But it was his vision to have a neutral site tournament that started all of this. And now it has become one of the great events in the country, attendance-wise, interest-wise, and the level of play. Please welcome the Commissioner of the Missouri Valley Conference, Doug Elgin.
Thank you, Mitch, and good afternoon, everyone. It really is a privilege for me to be here to welcome you to the Coach of the Year Luncheon and to another State Farm MVC tournament weekend. Last year, we celebrated the 25th anniversary of Arch Madness in St. Louis. Fans in the Missouri Valley have had a tremendous run of watching amazing basketball through the years. It's amazing that how the world has changed since the early 1990s, and one of the more incredible things is that we're still here. One of the main reasons that this tournament has been able to have such a long and successful run in St. Louis is due to the commitment of the St. Louis Blues. Each year since 1992, the Blues have carved out 5 consecutive dates in early March for our tournament, at a time when the NHL schedule is in full bore during one of the busiest months of the year for the building. I want to thank Alex Rodrigo, who is here at the dais, certainly, and majority owner Tom Stillman for making this long run possible. The MVC has also been very fortunate to have State Farm headquartered within the footprint of the Missouri Valley. State Farm is our longest running tournament sponsor through the years. This year they returned to the role of title sponsor for the tournament. John Altoff has been a very strong advocate of the relationship with State Farm, and I think his presence here today makes a very important statement. We thank you for coming, John. I also want to thank each of our sponsors here on the dais and all of those who are here in the room for the support they give us. We would not have been this successful in St. Louis without that support. Off the court, this has been an extremely important year for the conference. The MVC has been very proactive, along with its athletic directors, in extending and strengthening our broadcast media agreements with our media partners, ESPN, CBS, and Fox Sports. We do have 3 of our broadcast partners here represented today. Brent Colburn here from ESPN's main campus in Bristol, Connecticut. We would not have gotten through a 10-year extension if not for his commitment and dedication to making that deal work. CBS has deepened its relationship with the Missouri Valley, and with rights it acquired last summer and a sub-license agreement with ESPN. Our tournament semifinals will be on CBS Sports Network on Saturday for the first time ever. Certainly that is a real plus for our league. CBS will carry the championship game on Sunday and through 2020, making a 15-year run possible on CBS Network. Right now, there are only 4 conference tournaments on CBS's air with their title game. The Missouri Valley is joined by the Big Ten, the Atlantic 10, and the Mountain West conferences. Fox Sports Midwest has been the foundation of our regional television exposure for almost 30 years. The relationship we have with our friends over at Union Station has been very, very positive for the league, and we certainly thank Dave Picorni and our Fox Sports friends for their continuing distribution of Valley basketball. I do want to congratulate Greg Marshall and his Wichita State Shockers for winning a 3rd consecutive regular season MVC title, their 4th in 5 years. Wichita State's impressive program achievements over the 4-year careers of their current seniors includes 117 wins, an average of nearly 30 wins a year, 7 NCAA tournament wins, an undefeated regular season at 31-0, and the first Final Four appearance for a Valley team since Larry Bird and Indiana State went to the national championship game in 1979. As we look ahead to our tournament weekend, we have a group of seniors that have already been mentioned. We're going to bid farewell to that group. These guys have been classy student athletes, and it's a group that Missouri Valley basketball fans will remember for a very long time. Congratulations to all the young men who are here to receive their honors today. We look forward to crowning our State Farm MVC tournament champions on Sunday, and the best of luck to all of our teams, and enjoy the madness. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. And now it's time to begin recognizing our on-court accomplishments, which we've already stated in many ways is unprecedented. We're going to represent now our best of the best in America's Renaissance Conference. But you can argue in 2016, in many ways, it's been the best of the best of the best. Now, for the student athletes, when your name is called, if you could please come to the front of the stage and accept your award from Commissioner Elgin and from the tournament manager, Jack R. Watkins. One of the most prestigious awards of this conference, and it has been for years, because this conference in many ways in college basketball and men's college basketball and women's they've had some of the top scholar athletes in all of Division I, and that is no exception this year. because we present to you now our 2016 Eagle Bank Valley Scholar Athlete of the Year Award winner. He averages 3.6 in pharmacy and is the third leading scorer in the league at 17 points a game. Ladies and gentlemen, a 6'1" sophomore guard from New Berlin, Wisconsin, Reed Timmer of the Drake Bulldogs. Congratulations, Reed. Talk about our great seniors this year, but this league has been good for a long time, particularly the program that this guy represents because of the perpetual nature of the recruiting and developing of the players. Our freshman of the year, an explosive player, a 6'8" forward from Patterson, New Jersey, Marcus McDuffie of the Wichita State Shockers. And our newcomer of the year, and they're a pretty prestigious group that he had to outduel for this award, a 5'10" junior guard from Charleston, West Virginia, for the Missouri State Bears, Daquan Miller of MSU. Our sixth man of the year, and this is also a rich area because Wichita State for years has had the best bench in the country, and this year Loyola had the nation's best bench, at least during February. But this was the sixth man of the year, a 6'6" junior guard from Croatia, Mislav Brozoja of the Evansville Purple Aces. Is that bow tie from Croatia or is that from Evansville? Okay, good. Very nice. Our defensive player of the year, and this also is in there's a lot of folks in this room that could have won this award. But this guy, again, did things that are unprecedented in this league. He is the only player in Valley history to finish in the top 5 in rebounding and block shots. From Lithuania, Egidijus Miskevičius of the Evansville Purple Aces. During the year, I asked him, how do you say double-double in Lithuanian? He said, don't even try it. 26 double-doubles this year. That led the nation. Amazing. Now let's salute our first-team all-conference squad. And again, in many ways, this group is unprecedented in what they've been able to do, individually and collectively helping their teams and their campuses. A 6'2" senior guard from Normal, Illinois, from the Southern Illinois Salukis, Anthony Bean, Jr. And regardless of what Barry Henson said, Pops was a pretty good player out of Bernie, Missouri, just didn't have as much muscle tone as some, but that's okay. A 6'2" senior guard, again, the fourth leading scorer in Valley history. From the Evansville Purple Aces, DJ Ballantyne. And another guy who really has put up the credentials, as I mentioned at the outset of the luncheon, Player of the Year credentials. A 6'4" senior guard from Scott City, Kansas, Ron Baker of the Wichita State Shock. And of Ron's great accomplishments, his greatest was he got Fred Van Vliet on a horse during the summer. If you get a Gideus on a horse, buddy, I know you've made it. And speaking of our next all-conference first-team selection, Egidius Miscavicius of the Evansville Purple Aces. I don't know how Fred's horse ride went, but I know that Greg Marshall has ridden this horse for 4 years. And his 117 wins are probably his greatest accomplishment. You look at his 600 assists and 200 steals, but he is a two-time, for the 9th time in this rich history of this league, we have a two-time Larry Bird Player of the Year award winner. In a year where there are a lot of possible candidates, he is a very worthy winner. Ladies and gentlemen, your Larry Bird Player of the Year, Fred Van Vliet of Wichita State. Let's give another big round of applause to an incredible group of award winners. And now it's time to announce, well, one of the main reasons we're here, and that's to announce the Missouri Valley Conference Coach of the Year. Again, much like our players, there are a lot of worthy candidates for this year's award. This is the script that I'm supposed to read. I can't read it, and I'll tell you why. This guy and I had some casual chats when he was out of the league for a brief time about this league. In fact, it was in KU's practice gym, and he talked about how much he loved the league, the fans of the league, the players of the league, and how much he wanted so badly to be back in the league. Well, he's back. But we celebrate a unique man here today, and I'll tell you why. We talked about and remembering the Redbird 7, and it was the text that I got on Christmas Day, 2013. Because this young man who gets this award today has had to deal with a lot. But none of us in this room had to deal with what he had to deal with on that day. His son-in-law was coming in from Colorado to visit him and Angie to reunite with Niles' wife, Tiffany, the daughter of Barry, and little grandson, Carter. And an unspeakable tragedy happened when Niles lost his life on Christmas Day in Carbondale, Illinois. And Barry had to go way beyond coach. He had to hug his beautiful wife in one arm. He had to hold his beautiful daughter in another and have a hand free so he could hang on to his grandson, Carter. in the most difficult of circumstances. He's had to deal with that over the past year and a half, but he's done it in incredible fashion. He has shown, well, it's kind of like the Wizard of Oz. He's had the courage of the lion, and he's had the heart of the Tin Man. I don't know about the brain of the scarecrow, but he's had the other two things. He has had to do amazing things as a husband, a father, and a grandfather. And by the way, Southern, he has given you a 10-game improvement over a year ago. And if he wins 2 more games, it'll be the greatest improvement in your school's history. We don't only celebrate a coach today, we celebrate a champion of the heart. Would you please acknowledge your Missouri Valley Conference Coach of the Year, the coach of the Southern Illinois Salukis, Barry Hinson.
Shoot, I cried at the last 15 minutes of Marley and Me. I'm sorry. I'm a passionate guy. I am extremely humbled and honored. The first person to win this award was Mr. Iba, and I work for Mr. Iba, so this makes it extremely special for me. I am the sum of all parts of these guys behind me. I don't like these guys. I love them. I've been asked many a times, why would you ever leave Kansas? And quite frankly, it's really easy. I've had a 13-year love affair with this conference, and I have no problems making that statement any and everywhere that I go. Each and every one of these guys behind me are not good friends. They're close and good brothers to me, and especially when my family went through a difficult time, each and every one of these guys behind me would text me and check on me or call on me, and that meant a lot. I'm very appreciative of the job that I have. I'm very appreciative of my wife, even though I've referred to her on many occasions in public venues about her shot fake. We came home after a game. We won a ball game, and I went into the press room, and they said, you've become the 4th all-time winningest coach in the Missouri Valley. And so when I got home, I told my wife, I said, tonight, and I've always used the term we with her, especially after wins, because it's always we that won, and when we get beat, it's all my fault. But anyway, I said, we became the 4th all-time winningest coach in the Valley tonight, and this was her response. No way! Greg McDermott, Greg Marshall, Ben Jacobson, no way! Welcome to my world. I'm like Leonardo DiCaprio with the bear when I go to my house, but it has been you could tell who saw the movie and who didn't. But it has been a wonderful journey, and I do want to thank all of our sponsors, specifically State Farm, because with 2 teenage daughters that are now grown, and since I've been a part of State Farm since 16 years old, I'm glad to know that your money has gone to a good cause. And if my wife were to die, or I would die tomorrow because of my life insurance policy at State Farm, she will immediately receive $453.16. So I know that she will be taken care of for the rest of her life. I want to congratulate the 5 all-conference members. I'm extremely happy as a proud papa of Anthony and I'm so happy for him. I'm extremely, even more happy that those other 4 goobers, I'll never have to coach against them again. Agidius, I apologize to you and your family for all of the mispronunciations that I've had with your name over the last few years. John Malkovich, Macavicius, Mokerficius, Agadifus. I've ruined it in every way that you can. So this year on our scouting report, we just referred to you as Big Fella. In Marlow, Oklahoma, we don't have a lot of people with more than 2 syllables in their last name. DJ, obviously I didn't get the memo today, but I'll wear a bow tie next year. I owe an apology to Fred because I too have mispronounced his name. It's been Fred Van Fleet as far as I'm concerned, but with my accent, nobody ever knew that it was between an F and a V anyway, so it didn't matter. And I'm really exceptionally proud of Ron. Ron has not announced this, but he is going to sign a 6-figure deal upon graduation with the Chippendales in Las Vegas. So my congratulations to all 5 of you gentlemen. And congratulations to Greg, once again, 3rd-time champion. That's great, and you've been an unbelievable representative of our league. I love the Missouri Valley Conference. I love my school that I coach at. My chancellor's here today. Chancellor Brad Caldwell is in charge of a school that in the state of Illinois, you get an IOU if you win the lottery. So he has an unbelievable challenge. And we also have our new athletic director, Tommy Bell, and his wife, Lori, here today. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of this conference.
Sorry, Ron, about the Chippendales comment. Now you know what everybody's going to be in everybody's head when he goes out on the floor the next 3 days. And the life insurance policy, the UPS guy's got the $750,000 one, so Angie's in good shape. Do you have family here today, or who do you have here today, family-wise? Stand up, Angie, and another Oklahoma State cowgirl. You can see why this is a special league. And we got one-of-a-kind players in here and one-of-a-kind coaches, and we're going to have a terrific tournament as we enter into a 2nd quarter century here at Scott Trade Center in St. Louis. And with our television partners and our sponsors, and with a staff that I think is second to none in the country, this league looks forward to a terrific future. Now, Jack, with the basketballs, do they go out today or do they stay here?
They are gifts.
They are gifts to whom? Some at the table?
How about we say closest birthday to today?
Yeah, closest birthday to Barry Henson. When is your birthday? Leap year? Well, that's cool. Now, when is it?
February 31st. May 12th.
He went to Oklahoma State. Okay, that's all you need to know. All right? You don't want to see his transcript. May 12th, there you go. Closest birthday to May 12th gets the basketball. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending. Congrats to all of our award winners, to Barry, all of our coaches. Let's have a great tournament.
The madness starts at the Arch. The madness starts at the Arch. It's the 2016 State Farm Missouri Valley Conference Men's Basketball Tournament, March 3rd through 6th at Scott Trade Center. Don't miss any of the action as 10 Missouri Valley teams battle for an NCAA berth. Get your tickets and get to St. Louis for Arch Madness. Missouri Valley Conference basketball is coming to the Quad Cities. The Valley begins a new era in MVC tournament history. And get great seats for as little as $10 a session. Just $10. Don't miss the 2016 Missouri Valley Women's Basketball Championship, March 10th through 13th at the iWireless Center in the Quad Cities. Get your tickets, get to the Quad Cities, and discover your own marvels on the Mississippi now.
The magical moments and epic performances, the spectacle and pageantry of NCAA March Madness. The road to the Final Four continues through St. Louis. Be there to share the experience with your family and friends. The NCAA Men's Basketball Championship first and second rounds, March 18th and 20th at Scott Trade Center in St. Louis. Single session tickets are on sale now. Visit ncaa.com/MVB tickets today.